What is up, Soul Fam? Welcome to the second episode of Inner Alchemy with your host, Sandal Roy. You can also call me Ishtar if you prefer that. And I hope everyone's had a really good holiday season. Prayers to anybody who is in the Holy Land right now. Obviously, it is not very Christmassy in the birthplace of Jesus. But we know that Christmas is just an amalgamation of different sort of pagan festivals, Yuletide, Saturnalia, what's the other one? Yeah, just various winter solstice celebrations. I can't think off the top of my head. I was watching a video the other day of the Krampus parade in that they do practice in certain parts of Germany and Bavaria, which is South Germany, where they have this demon called Krampus, who is, Santa's the good guy that, makes a list of all the good children, and Krampus is the bad guy who makes a list of all the naughty children and goes around terrorizing children and probably giving them nightmares as well. So, they've resurrected this tradition mostly in Bavaria, and they all dress up as these Krampus type figures, these demonic figures, and go around with like bells on their back and terrorize children. Actually looks quite fun, I will say. When I was watching the videos, have a look at some on YouTube. And the kids didn't seem very scared. They actually seemed to enjoy it. So, I think nothing wrong with, some cultural traditions. Obviously it is a demon, and you do want to be careful if you've got little ones that you protect them in the dream space from certain entities. Krampus probably is a real entity in the field. God knows I've seen so many different weird demons and entities when I work on clients' field. That I wouldn't be surprised if it is actually a real entity. So just be careful, if you are celebrating any of these other types of traditions, that you put your child you activate your child's Christ shield before they go into the dream space if they're having problems with demonic attack in the dream space. That's something that I used to struggle with all the time as a kid. Yeah, what are we talking about today? Okay, so today I want to talk about sexual misery because I feel like it is absolutely proliferating. There's several psyops that are happening at the moment that seem to have with the deliberate intent to poison humanity's sexuality. Not that they haven't been doing this for decades. This can all be traced back to, I'm not saying it started in the 1950s with the Kinsey reports. Was it in the 50s or the 60s, the Kinsey reports? But, I think it's always, there's always been attack on the gender principle, and there's always been dark forces trying to attempt to split Christ and Sophia, the Christ Sophia energies that move between through men and women, and invert that gender principle for the purpose of causing relational and sexual misery, because demonic forces love to feed on particularly sexual misery. They absolutely love feeding because they're perverts, actually. Like I've seen, incubuses and incubi, is it incubi? Incubi and succubi in the field are particularly nasty entities that will attach to people's sacrals and feed on implants that are in there, that they feed on the trauma of often child sexual abuse, and child sexual abuse can even include, you don't, even if you were never molested, even being exposed. I've said in the previous podcast, if you were exposed to pornography at a young age, which most young boys are, that is also child sexual abuse. So, we need massive collective healing, humanity. So today I want to focus on sexual misery because the dark forces are working overtime with spreading a lot of these very nefarious psyops. And so obviously I didn't really want to name these people because I know that the individuals in question are seeking infamy, and they're rage baiting, and they're wanting us to talk about them. They're wanting the public to be outraged, because then they get more attention, they get more people looking at their content and subscribing to their subscription services, and they make more money. But you may know, one of them, but both of them are two particular girls from the UK who are getting ran through by hundreds of guys. One of them has the initials LP, and the other one has the initials BB. I'm not gonna name. I might name them because I'm going to talk about the numerology of some of these stories, and also another story. Obviously, it's different. It's obviously different, but the Gisele Pelicot story, okay, which is the story of the elderly French woman who was gang raped over many decades by her husband, who would drug her, put drugs in her dinner, and make her pass out, and then invite men to come and rape her and film it. So obviously this is a horrific story, and it's been proliferating in the news quite widely. And I was a little bit, obviously I was horrified by this story, and I spoke to my partner about it. For those of you who don't know my partner, he's an avid truth seeker, and he's been, speaking truth and seeking truth and for many, many years. And he's very well researched on a number of topics, including Gematria. So Gematria is a type of numerology that you'll find in the Torah, and it can be used to decode certain things, okay? So it's primarily used to decode the Torah, but obviously because the various secret society sects that have infiltrated most of the institutions that we see on the planet with their particular brand of messianic Satanism, they're obsessed with Gematria, okay? We're talking about, like the Catholic Jesuits, the Freemasons, the Illuminati, who basically straddle various sects of Abrahamic eschatology. Eschatology is basically end times theories, like stories of the end times, right? So they follow various sects of Abrahamic spirituality, from Judaism to Christianity to Islam. There's actually sects, Islamic sects of the Freemasons. They're called the Mecca Shriners, which I recently discovered on my trip to DC when I went to the Freemasonic Temple in DC. So yeah, they love ritual. They love doing various rituals and psychological operations on auspicious dates. And yeah, they're obsessed with putting symbolism, and particularly number symbolism, in their news stories as a kind of, I don't know, I feel like it's like a mockery, but there may be some occult significance to why they do that. So he's going to be a guest, I'm going to be having him on the podcast probably a lot, because he has a lot to say, and there's a lot of things that he's been teaching me as well. So we're going to be we'll probably do a separate podcast just talking about Gematria, because I personally would love to learn how to do this. I got him to run the numbers on this Gisele Pelicot story, and it was really eye-opening. So I personally would love to be able to run the numbers myself, because I also wanted to talk about the two OnlyFans girls. But I didn't, I wanted to talk about it, and I didn't have the numbers available. Hang on, let me see if he's available right now. He's just messaged me. No, I'm not going to bother him right now because he's at work. And but you know what I'm going to do? I am going to I'll speak to him later this evening, ask him to run the numbers on the two girls, and when I'm editing this video, I'll drop in a little video talking about it, is showing you the numerology, okay? Because I think we briefly did the LP girl, and the numbers on that were really telling, okay? It was very, very revealing. Okay, so this will basically show whether a story is scripted or not, okay? And I recommend that you try this, not on several different stories, okay? Because we've run it on different stories before, and there's been no number synchronicities or anything like that, and that's probably a real story. And then we've done it on other stories that seem suspicious or seem like they have an agenda behind them, and the synchronicities were very telling. So Dominique Pelicot, Pelicot, was her husband and organized the gang rape against her. His name reduces down to the number 83. Okay, now 83 is the number of men that he invited to come and rape her. Okay, and he was charged with rape as when you look at the news stories, there will be certain terms, okay, that they will use that seem a little strange, like why have they chosen to use that term? So this one Sky News article that they used, and Sky News has been pushing this story a lot, keeps on using the term that he was convicted and he was charged with rape as the 51st man. Like, why not the first man? Why the 51st man? That phrase reduces down to 83 as well. Okay, so for speaking out and foregoing her anonymity, they're calling Gisele Pelicot a feminist icon, and that phrase reduces to 71. Gisele Pelicot herself is 71. She's born 1952 December the 7th. 1952 December the 7th, those words and numbers reduced to 71. And you got to take the phrase that they use in the article to, if they put dates and write it using letters rather than numbers, then do that. Catholic also reduces to 71. Obviously, we know the Vatican is the spiritual center of the beast system. The town where it happened, Avignon, reduces to 37. Pelicot reduces to 37. Sky News reduces to 37. Okay, so let's see if the two OnlyFans girls also have some number synchronicities. So what I'm saying with this is, it's my suspicion that these stories are psyops, okay, for the particular purpose of promoting sexual degeneracy and sexual misery, destroying the family unit. It's basically an antichrist agenda, antichrist Sophia, okay? It's destroying the gender principle, attacking divine unions, and trying to keep people separated so that we don't breed. And not just so that we don't breed, so that we don't find our true beloved. And we keep on, it's also worldview poisoning, just this idea that everybody's just out there being sexual degenerates, normalizing really trashy behavior, and ultimately not able to access our highest timeline around divine union. And, for those of you who are on the divine union path, it's really, really important that we heal these sexual distortions, both for ourselves and also to help others heal these sexual distortions. Obviously, this is a topic that is really difficult to talk about because it can be very triggering, because there's so much trauma around sexuality on our planet that it's very easy for people to feel shamed or judged or condemned for their sexual behavior, okay? And that's not my intention with this, okay? I'm genuinely trying to help people find their beloved so that they can end this sexual misery once and for all, just like I have, okay? And I'm going to talk more about that over the next, everything that I've been through over the last year, with clearing a false karmic interface and a false union, and then getting into divine union and how I was able to do that, and why I was even involved in a false union in the first place, okay? Because the deceptions are so strong on this planet, and the more you ascend and the more you heal, the more high level the deceptions get as well, okay? So there's a lot of clearing that we have to do. So it's important to not judge ourselves, okay, as we're healing this. I've kind of ummed and ahed over how much I want to talk about my own personal situation. Obviously, with it being New Year's Eve, I've kind of been doing my little year's review and, how everything went this year. And, it was not good. And at the same time, it was amazing. Like, I don't know how to, it's like both this was the hardest emotionally, physically, financially. It was one of the hardest years of my life. Completely traumatizing on so many different levels, but it was also one of the best years of my life. I do like to keep my private life private. I enjoy my privacy, but at the same time, the level of demonic attack that I have experienced, particularly through people that were super, super close to me, okay, I'm talking about the false union that I was in, I think needs to be talked about, okay, because I know some of y'all are going through it as well. And these, I'm not trying to paint myself as a victim, so let's be very clear about that. But there are very high level deceptions as you go on the awakening path. If you're a man or a woman on the divine union path, that you will get hit with, okay? There are very sophisticated karmic interfacing systems, okay? And what I mean by that is, it's like an interfacing system, or like a net. Like in the field, it appears to me like a net, okay, or it's like a frequency net, okay, that will hook into your light body, hook into your wounds. You might have wounds in the sacral around your sexuality. You might have wounds in the heart. You might have implants going all the way down the left side of your body, your feminine side, or your masculine side, whatever it is, whatever your particular wounding is, whether it's mother issues, daddy issues, whether you suffered child sexual abuse, whether you suffered heavy betrayal, maybe your first love cheated on you, maybe you were in a narcissistic relationship, maybe one of your parents was a narcissist. So all of these types of different woundings can cause you to become hooked into these interfacing systems that cause you to get into karmic relationships in which you are looping and repeating this trauma, continuing to repeat this trauma over and over again with a person that is not your true beloved, okay? That is not who God intended for you. And a lot of the deceptions around relationship, like such as, you can be with anyone, there's hundreds of people that you could be compatible with, are just frankly not true, okay? You are coded to be with your divine beloved, okay? If you're a woman, if you're a woman, okay? If you're feminine energy, you'll usually have a masculine counterpart. If you're masculine energy, you'll usually have a feminine counterpart. There can also be divine unions that are two women or two men, but you have a divine union that is basically you share an angelic oversoul with, okay? And that person is coded to be with you with very unique templating. Both of you are here to bring something very unique to the world, okay? That is the truth, and that is the truth that has been hidden from us. And they do all this sick shit to try and keep us blocked from this truth and keep us in a lower timeline around relationship and around, sexual union. And for those of you who've been with me for a while and who are watching my videos on the Substance Over Style YouTube channel, you'll know I've been talking about this for many years while I was in a false union, okay? And I even said, I believe I'm on my highest timeline. Because when you're on a certain timeline, you don't necessarily know how much better it can get. But I'm telling you that if you're questioning whether, somebody is for you and it's not quite fitting, and there's fundamental incompatibilities around values and things like that, you might not be with your person, okay? That person might not be for you. If that person's making you question how they feel about you, if they're making you question their commitment, they're probably not for you, okay? If you're having fundamental, if you're having conflicts around core values, that person's definitely not for you, okay? So there's so much more that I need to say on this. And I'm going to be talking about this so much more, okay? Because there were so many high level deceptions that I had to clear for myself, and that I believe humanity needs to clear at this time. And it's every couple that gets into a true union starts clearing the way for other unions and starts accelerating that union timeline for so many other people. So those of you who are on the divine union path, I think it's important that we all start stepping up a little bit more and start helping each other, because people are really suffering out here. People are really, really suffering with relational and sexual misery. It's probably one of the biggest loosh fests for dark forces on the planet. Okay, and when I say loosh fest, I mean like a emotional feeding ground for demonic forces. Okay, so yeah. So I've got the Kinsey reports in my notes. Okay, so the Kinsey reports were published, I believe, in the 1950s. Let me actually just look that up. Kinsey reports. So the Kinsey reports. So the first one was sexual behavior in the human male. And that was published in 1948. And then later he came out with sexual behavior in the human female, 1953. And these were presented as like these groundbreaking studies on human sexuality, and that they'd interviewed like your regular average Joe or Jane. And that could not be further from the truth. Okay, I've talked about this in previous videos of mine. You should look those up on the YouTube channel, where you can just search my channel for Kinsey. Kinsey, firstly, was a paedophile. Okay, he hired paedophiles to do experiments on children to time how long it would take for them to experience a climax. Absolutely sick motherfucker. Okay, and they actually have a school dedicated to this guy. This is how inverted our society has become now. Okay, there's a school dedicated to this guy, and they have a statue of him outside celebrating his contributions to social sciences and the study of human sexuality. Okay, this is how perverted and how bad things have got. Okay, so he had pedophiles who submitted data for his study, and with sexual behavior in the human male, he the subjects that he interviewed were skewed towards criminals, people in prison, convicted felons, sexual deviants, people who had been convicted of sexual crimes, and also homosexual activists. And I'm not saying homosexual activists because I'm putting them in the same category as sexual deviants. I'm just saying that skewed the data around things like homosexuality and other types of sexual behaviors. So it wasn't representative of the average person and the average sexual behavior. Okay, and then when he was doing the studies for the sexual behavior in the human female, he largely interviewed prostitutes. So the data was very skewed, but they presented this as if this is what the average person is doing. And so obviously when they start promoting this and normalizing this, it ended up actually manifesting as normal sexual behavior, because people think, oh wow, like I can't believe that I've been so pious and so pure and been saving myself for my future husband and wife when everybody else is just out there doing this and nobody even knows about it. So Hugh Hefner was a massive fan of Kinsey's work. I think he had suffered a lot of religious trauma, and just suppression of his sexuality, and so he went the other way. That happens, obviously. So I'm not here like trying to shame people, but we have to look at the harm that this is causing to society. I'm really not out here trying to shame people, okay, for being promiscuous or whatever. I've had to heal a lot of distortions myself, okay, so and I can tell you firsthand, when you get into divine union especially, there's a lot of stuff that you will have to heal around this issue, particularly if you haven't waited, like if you haven't had a period of celibacy, or even completely only just waited for your person. And the reason for that is because you and your divine beloved are actually connected in throughout all space-time, throughout eternity. Okay, you are literally the same soul at the highest levels. Okay, so when you're out there being with other people, you're cheating on your beloved. Okay, now this is not to say that would be the same thing as like you actually cheating on somebody once you're in a relationship with. Okay, I'm not saying that like, me and my partner, me and my beloved Dominic, we've obviously been with other people before we found each other. That doesn't mean that we just continue cheating, or if either one of us cheated now, that it would be the same thing. Okay, obviously there's a massive difference between knowing that and not knowing it. But now that you know it, okay, those of you who are on my channel are obviously on the divine union path. Now that you know it, you should now be waiting, okay, for your person. So with the Kinsey reports, I do check out a book by Dr. Judith Reisman called Soft Porn Plays Hardball. It's really, really eye-opening. Okay, she's a PhD researcher, and she did a study, I think it was published in the 60s or the 70s. She did a study on, I think it might have been exclusively on Playboy, but it might have also been on Playboy, Penthouse and Hustler, where they examined the cartoons, okay, because they have a cartoon strip in Playboy. And they analyzed the cartoons and counted how many references there were to violence against women, how many references there were to anything any children and sexuality together, so pedophilic themes, any themes around incest, and any themes around violence against children. Okay, and they documented all of this, and it's very, very disturbing. And she also analyzed the influence on society that the pornography industry has had. So since the advent of Playboy, how we've seen, reductions in people in marriage, increases in teenage pregnancy, increases in incidents of sexual violence and child sexual abuse. So it's a very depressing read, but it's a massively eye-opening read. And if you're still consuming pornography, I would be very, very surprised if this book doesn't change that for you. And if you're still consuming pornography, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get your life together, okay? Like, it's already been studied that pornography causes brain damage. They've shown that it reduces empathy towards rape victims. It causes men to view women as sexual objects instead of human beings. It's destroying male-female relationships. It's not loyal. Like, the normalization of pornography has been one of the biggest travesties against humanity, in my opinion. The fact that people think it's okay for their partner to go and jack off while fantasizing about having sex with another woman, like that, like the amount of women that I see saying, oh, it's okay that my partner consumes porn, I also consume porn. You do realize, right? Okay, I used to be that chick too, okay? I didn't used to have a problem with it. You do realize that your man is fantasizing about having sex with that woman in the video, right? How is that monogamy? That's not monogamy, okay? And don't even get me started on it's okay that he's like, looking at that he's following OnlyFans girls on Instagram and God knows what else, women in the West have normalized, going to strip clubs, celebrating your divine union with a trip to the strip club with his friends. It's really, really degenerate. Okay, so sex work, the oldest profession. Okay, so I consider this phrase, that sex work is the oldest profession, to be blasphemy. Okay, it is absolutely not true, and it is an insult to the goddess. Okay, it is an absolute insult to the goddess. It's basically like saying that Mary Magdalene was a whore. Okay, so it's like calling Ishtar, the primordial sacred feminine, the whore of Babylon. Okay, this is literally what they've done to us since the beginning of time. I told y'all in the last episode to please go read The Rape of Eve. Okay, that is the story from the Nag Hammadi texts, which are basically like the Gnostic texts. Like I said, I don't necessarily agree with everything that the Gnostics believe, but they do add a lot of missing pieces to the puzzle. Okay, in that story, Eve biting the apple and the serpent, that story is so much bigger in the Nag Hammadi text. Okay, it's literally, just read it. Okay, maybe I'll talk about it a little bit, but it's basically Eva's Sophia. Eva's an incarnation of Sophia in that story. And I forget the details of actually if there was an apple. Let me just look it up 1 second. Rape of Eve. Okay, it's going to take me too long to read it right now. But basically in that story, Eve is basically tricked by the archons who try to convince her to eat from the flower, there's actually 2 trees, right? So there's the tree of knowledge and there's the tree of life, okay? And I think that this is actually symbolic of Kabbalah. Yeah, so in that story, basically, Eve is tricked to eat from the tree of knowledge rather than the tree of life, which they were forbidden from eating from the tree of knowledge because it contained the knowledge of good and evil. And, you know, I've heard some people say, well, why wouldn't you want to know the difference between good and evil? It's fine to be able to discern the difference between good and evil, but do you really want to experience gnosis of evil? Do you really want to actually experience evil? Like, because we experience it here in this plane, okay? We've literally been watching a live stream genocide for the last year. Like, I could definitely have done without that experience. And for those of us who have experienced, you know, abuse, rape, torture, trafficking, all of the horrible things, the evil things on this planet, we could definitely have done without those experiences. We could definitely do without those experiences, okay? I'm good with just being in the Garden of Eden and eating fruit and making love to my beloved and making children and being in community with other people and having a jolly old time. I do not need to experience evil, okay? For whatever reason, I'm here on this planet, so maybe my higher self did choose to want to experience evil, but where I'm at now, I'm like, I'm good. Like, God, can we please go back? Can we go back to the garden? So that's where I'm at. So they tricked her. And then they defiled her, okay? They gang raped her in that story. So, yeah. Why am I talking about that? Can't remember. Why am I talking about that? Yeah, so oldest profession, right? Okay, so I consider it to be blasphemous to say that women have always prostituted themselves and they've always sold themselves in return for money and resources. I mean, I kind of can get on board with some of the fourth wave feminist doctrine around we are all prostitutes, because on a certain level women do exchange femininity in order to survive in the world. I mean, y'all know I modeled for like 20 years, so that's definitely an exchange of femininity, beauty, sex appeal in order to make money and survive and pay myself. So, you know, I get that on that level, but that's not brothels did not exist like in the modern sense of the word prostitution. That didn't exist in ancient times, okay? The hierodules, the sacred whores, were not what we understand prostitutes or sex workers to be nowadays, okay? This was a very sacred art that high-level priestesses were initiated into, and they would initiate their consorts, okay? Not multiple consorts. Each one had their own consort, okay? It was monogamous. I've channeled so much around this with my clients and also with my beloved, okay? When you get into union you will, okay, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, my pineal is just in overdrive. Okay, I've been getting so many downloads, and I've been shown so many things in the field around what happened in those temples. Some of it was really, really distorted. Okay, and yes, some of the priestesses were responsible for those distortions, the priestesses and the priests. Okay, there was a lot of fuckery that happened that caused the degradation of those temples, but that wasn't originally what they were about. Okay, Hieros Gamos, sacred union, the rituals were supposed to be between two divine beloveds. Okay, between your consort, the person that God has for you, the other half of your soul. Okay, they became distorted. So, it's not the oldest profession. Okay, I don't know if there is an oldest profession, but it's not prostitution. So I don't want to hear that again. Like, probably I will hear that again because not everyone watches my podcast, but please share this podcast. I'm really shadow banned at the moment. Please smash the like button, leave me a comment, do everything that you can to help me out here, because I'm getting really, I've been really shadow banned over the last year since speaking for Palestine, and I do believe that this information needs to get out there and reach people, because, what I'm seeing happening with dating culture, it just seems to be degenerating for a lot of people. There's so much worldview poisoning that we're at the point now where so many people have just given up. And I do think on a certain level that things like the 4B movement and MGTOW, where both men and women have said, we can't be fucked with this anymore. I'm just going to do me. I'm not going to be with anyone anymore. I'm just going to focus on my own life. I think that that's amazing. Like, not for yes and no. Okay, because on one level, yes, it's stopping people from breeding. It's a genocidal tactic. It's an attack on humanity, and an attack on the union template, and an attack on the family template. And what we're seeing in Korea with the 4B movement, we are seeing a declining population. Same in Japan, a lot of people have just stopped having children. But on another level, I can see how it could be good, because I do think that we need to stop wasting time. A lot of the problems that we're seeing in dating culture are caused by people wasting time on people that are not good enough for them. And when I say not good enough, I'm not saying that like you're better than the people that you're dealing with. I'm saying that you're being mistreated by these people because that's not your person. Neither of you are. You're both trying to fit square pegs in round holes. This is exactly what I was doing with the karmic interface that I just got out of, okay, which was obviously very painful for him. I do acknowledge that, that was something that I did that wasn't fair to him. He did a lot worse to me. But I also take responsibility for the fact that I wasn't on my highest timeline, and I was, trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. And my beloved also did the same with the people that he was with, okay? Both of us were looking for each other. You are coded to be with a certain person, okay? That person is uniquely coded to be with you. Everything that you've always been looking for in a person, everything that you've always fantasized about a man exists in another person, and that person is out there looking for you, probably trapped in some toxic relationship with somebody who's not you, okay, and is hurting because of that, is hurting themselves and is hurting the other person, and actually is hurting you as well. When you get together, you're probably going to have to grieve about the fact that both of you were with other people. I mean, my beloved and I have actually known of each other for like 4 years, and we were both with other people, and so that's been painful. Like, we're both mature enough to not like give each other a hard time about it, and we don't, but we have had to process, some of the emotions around that, and being like, well, what was it? Like, why didn't we recognize each other? What was it that caused us to choose the people that we were with rather than each other? And it can be really, really subtle. I'm going to talk about that in a separate video. I'll do an entire separate video on, how to recognize your beloved, karmic interfacing, how to clear that. I do want to stick to the sexual misery today. So, we are seeing a massive increase in sex work, prostitution, but not just prostitution, but other forms of sex work. Obviously, sex work has quite a broad definition, which I think is why prostitutes do prefer people to use the term sex worker to refer to them, because even like a sexual psychologist could be classified as a sex worker, even like somebody who writes erotic fiction or like erotic fan art could be considered a sex worker. But, you know, when I talk about prostitution, I'm talking about somebody who sells sexual services for money. And I actually do include porn performers and OnlyFans content creators in that. Maybe not all OnlyFans content creators, but, you know, if you're having sex or, you know, selling, you know, showing your intimate body parts, then that would, you know, that's prostitution pretty much, you know. So we've seen an increase. I'm just looking at the data here. Okay, so 72,000 in 2016. This is just the UK, right? 72,000 sex workers, prostitutes in 2016 to 105,000 today. Okay, and obviously it's very difficult to have, you know, very accurate, comprehensive data on this, because there's some issues with it. I mean, I think prostitution is legal. No, it's not legal. Escort agencies are legal. There's a kind of grey area where they're allowed to you know, do introductions between clients and prostitutes or escorts, and then whatever happens between the two is seen as consensual. So that's the legality of that. That's how they get around that. So 11% of British men have used a prostitute at some point. And I'm not going to say sex worker, because that actually doesn't include, you know, subscribing to somebody's OnlyFans. And 14% in the US. Okay, so if somebody has this as a deal breaker, for me personally, this is a deal breaker. Like if somebody's used a prostitute in the past, has paid for sex, I don't date them. And, you know, I'm lucky that, I mean, I found my person now and he didn't. So thankfully. But unfortunately, if your beloved has done that, you don't actually get to choose your beloved. But, you know, I don't know, like it's hard to say. Like if I had found out that he had done that, would it still be a deal breaker, knowing that, you know, because for me, there's really no doubt in my mind who he is. But I mean, there's no point me even worrying about it because he hasn't. So part of the reason why we're seeing such an increase in sex work and the normalization of sex work as well is, you know, obviously with the cost of living crisis and things like that, a lot of things going digital as well. And people are able to kind of dictate, you know, find clients themselves and stuff. And it's just becoming more and more normalized and destigmatized. So on one level, I think it's, with things like OnlyFans, I think it's good that it actually provides a safer environment for women that don't have a lot of agency to choose other types of work. But on the other hand, I do think that it is overall bad for society how normalized this is getting. And when we look at the you know, the story of the two girls that are getting ran through, you know, we've obviously got the LP girl who got ran through by 101, very specific number, right? 101 men, and filmed it for her OnlyFans, and she's now building up to doing 1,000 men. And I do think that story is a psyop, I think, because, you know, we ran the numbers on that. I'll see if I can get the numbers for you guys. And they were just very suspicious, like, why 101 men? Like, obviously. Okay, so we have the numbers. And please excuse my appearance. This is the look for today. Because I was shooting yesterday. I had a really long day, 5:30 a.m. wake up time to shoot in another city. So today I'm very tired. And we're having a very lazy, chill day doing the edit. So we have the numbers, and I'm going to name her Lily Phillips, and I'm even going to use, as you've probably seen, I'm using her name in the title because she's already being talked about so widely. She's trending now. So, hopefully I can break through the algorithm and get some more people, get this information in front of more people. So my very lovely boyfriend ran the numbers on Lily Phillips. Unfortunately, we didn't have time to run on the other girl, but maybe we'll cover it in another video. So you guys are going to love this. Lily Phillips reduces to 69. Born 23rd of July 2001. So that reduces to, in alphanumerically, reduces to the number 40, which is also the same number for porn star. It's also the same number for metro.co.uk, which ran the top story on this. And is also the number for 40. Zionist, the number for Zionist. I meant to say Zionist, not 40. I'm not thinking straight. Okay, look at who controls OnlyFans and Pornhub. Jewish Zionists, okay? Phillips reduces to 101. She allegedly slept with 101 men. She dropped out of Sheffield University, which also reduces to 101. Incidentally, that's the same university that I went to, those of you who know me, and it's actually one of the best universities in the world, actually, for the course that I studied, which was architecture. I don't know, she probably was doing some Mickey Mouse degree. I mean, maybe she wasn't, maybe she was doing like a proper very academic degree, but she dropped out anyway. OnlyFans reduces to 110. November 2nd, 2024 at 6 a.m. So this was the date that Metro posted in the article. You've got to look at what they're actually writing in the articles, okay? Because that will show you the scripted nature of it. So that also reduces to 110. So according to a different cipher, the reduction cipher, which I don't fully understand because I'm not an expert on this. As I said, we will have Dominic on to talk about Gematria at some point. So that date reduces to 56, which is the same number as the word mind control, and it's the same number as the word or the term mind control, and that's the same number as the word Saturn. Saturn is obviously, those of you who've studied occult symbology and occultism and astrotheology, you'll know that Saturn is the keeper of time, the Grim Reaper, or Satan. Okay, and Metro posted the article on a Saturday, which is Saturn's day. Okay, so this is obviously part of a satanic anti-Christophia agenda. Yeah, so numerologically, the word 101, it's an angel number that means you're on the right path, a sign of spiritual development and progression. Now, obviously, Satanists are huge fans of inverting everything and turning everything on its head. So it's quite obvious that we're on the wrong path, and we're spiritually degrading, spiritually and morally degrading. Okay, everything about this person couldn't be further from the truth. This young person has no spirituality in her whatsoever, and certainly no connection to God. Absolutely agree with that. Okay, so Phillips, 43 and 47. Okay, so this must be two different ciphers. I really need him to actually come on and explain all of this. Yeah, I should probably schedule that in soon. I've got like 5 other collaborations which have been planned from like a really long time ago. But maybe I'll have him come on first, because I just feel like this is really important to understand. Okay, so 5 men, they keep on repeating in the Metro article, 5 men, okay, even though there were more than 5 men, but they'll say, like, in one video which has been viewed more than 1 million times on X, shows Lily having oral and penetrative sex with 5 men. Allegedly numbers 11 to 16, so she did like a group scene with, it's just so fucking traumatizing to think about. It's so fucked up. Like, if you guys watch the documentary with her, like, she was literally crying at the end of it. So yeah, 5 men reduces to 74. Okay, so that's basically 47 reversed. So October 19th, 2024, which was when she filmed it, was also 74, which is 47 reversed. Yeah, so metro.co.uk, according to a different cipher, is 50. Lily equals 50 or 58, depending on which cipher you use. Derbyshire, which is where she's from, reduces to 58. Freemasonry also reduces to 58. Derbyshire, according to a different cipher, reduces to 113, which is the same number for the term fake reality, or also the term dream world. So yeah, that's the numbers on Lily Phillips. So yeah, lots and lots of number synchronicities there. So yeah, you guys make up your minds. I've spoken to some people about this, and they say, oh, it's just a coincidence, and you could do this with anything, and try it. Try it for yourself. And maybe you could so I want to try this. Actually, I am going to try this at some point, where I'm going to write my own, like let's say an article were to publish a story about you. Get ChatGPT to publish a quick story about you, what the mainstream media would write if they were writing a story on you, and then run the numbers on it and see if there's number synchronicities. Okay, as always, I'm not telling you what to believe. I'm just telling you, look into these things and look beneath the surface, because things aren't always as they seem. And when I watched the documentary where they interviewed her, you don't see anything. They even blur out her in lingerie. So if you're worried about not wanting to consume anything that's pornographic or disrespectful to your beloved, if you're a person on the divine union path, if particularly a man, I would say that documentary is safe to watch. I actually watched it with my partner. They completely blur out, even when she's in a bikini, they just blur it out. So yeah, she was saying it was very disturbing that her parents are supportive of the work that she does. Her mum is involved in her finances. So literally, it seems like her parents are pimping her out even. So I wouldn't be surprised if they were members of some kind of secret society. I'm not saying that categorically, obviously I don't know, but I mean, it seems like she said that they're supportive, but they're not like celebrating the fact that she's doing this, but they just obviously don't want to lose her. But her mum being involved in her finances was a huge red flag. And then also in the documentary, she said that some of her subscribers are her dad's friends. I'm sorry, but if your dad has friends like that, what does that say about your dad? And obviously it says something about your mum as well, because she doesn't have very high standards that she's married to somebody like that, who keeps company like that. It's just, this, I think also this story with the BB girl, she has been, and I'm glad that people are actually finally now starting to call this out, and so many people are talking about it and are just outraged. And I haven't seen many people who are supporting this, unless they're just absolute degenerates themselves. But the BB girl is getting called out for being predatory because she's inviting young men who are barely legal, who've literally just graduated school and have just turned 18, to kind of create content for her OnlyFans and have the opportunity to be intimate with her. Yeah, so people have rightfully called her out for that, and called her a predator, which she is. But, this is what happens when people are too afraid to call out this kind of thing as being the degeneracy that it is. Okay, this is what happens when people are follow the don't judge moniker too closely. And I think that as women, we're being gaslit into calling this shit out. A lot of women do. This is why I don't claim to be a feminist, okay? Because I think that the feminist term gets used to beat women over the head with, and to just go. It's groupthink, basically. It's like, you need to support all women. You need to support all women, even if those women aren't supporting you. So, maybe some people are going to cancel me for this. Excuse me, my light. you know, I've had people attack me for my views on certain things, and I'm no stranger to people being pissed off with my opinion. Like, if you don't like my opinion, you don't have to listen to me, and you can just go somewhere else. But this statistic, 89% of OnlyFans subscribers are married. Okay. And in the documentary that I watched on, there was a Channel 4 documentary where they interviewed a group of prostitutes in the UK. One of the performers? Why am I calling her performer? One of the girls, the escorts, is a former porn performer. She was extremely lonely. I felt really sorry for this girl. She'd obviously done porn at a really young age. Like, I think she was 18. And then, you know, from the porn industry, then she'd gone into escorting. And she had said multiple times that she does actually want to exit the industry. Her family don't talk to her anymore. She doesn't really have any friends. Her sister will just send her pictures of the kids, but she's not allowed to go and see the kids. She doesn't have a partner, obviously. She was asked if she would like to have a partner, and she said that she would like to have a partner, but it's hard, obviously, with the job that she does. And she said that basically most of her clients are married or in relationships, and so it's given her trust issues. So there are consequences to just doing immoral things, and I did feel bad for her. I'm not here trying to be mean to her or judge her. She's obviously suffering really bad with the consequences of her actions, and I really hope that she is delivered from that situation. And I genuinely, you know, if you're a sex worker or involved in this industry, I really hope that you are delivered from the situation that you're in. Okay. And like, let's not, like, I understand that there's certain rationalizations that sex workers will make to be okay with what they're doing. I know, because I did it with modeling. Okay. Modeling is not the most ethical industry. Newsflash. I have tried to make it, my relationship with modeling has changed a lot over the years as I've, you know, advanced on my spiritual journey. Like, nowadays, I will absolutely not work for any Zionist brands anymore. And I actually turn down at least 50% of the jobs that come my way. And I'm focusing more and more on this work, and I also have another part-time job. So I'm not going to be a slave to the industry or do things that I find morally questionable. And yeah, as now that I'm in divine union, I do have a problem with, I don't really want other people looking at me in a sexual way. Like, I only want my person to look at me in that way. So yeah. So just, yeah, with the going back to that statistic, I don't like how, as women, we are being gaslit into being like, you need to support all women, and if you don't, you're a swerf, sex worker, exclusionary, radical feminist, even though I'm not a feminist, and I won't allow people to gaslight me in that way, when these sex workers aren't exactly standing with all women and supporting other women because they're sleeping with their are you supporting other women when you're sleeping with their husbands, or taking the money that belongs to their families and their children? Like, I don't think so. So, you know, like, just I hope you are delivered from that situation, is all I can say. Okay, I know in this economy it's hard. Okay, I'm also feeling it. Okay, partly that's also due to my own choices. Y'all know I took 9 months off promoting my business this year to speak for Palestine, so a lot of that is just my own choices. So I'm not complaining or painting myself as a victim, but I do know that it is hard, especially in this economy, to, you know, pay your bills and stuff like that. So I understand that. And we can also still say that we should be doing better, and there are other ways to make money, and we should be seeking those out than, you know, selling our bodies, because it's causing harm to society. It's causing harm to the families whose, you know, husbands or boyfriends that you're sleeping with, there are children involved in some of those relationships. That's going to cause long-term trauma to those children. It's going to cause long-term betrayal trauma to the women whose partners you're sleeping with. And it's actually causing you a lot of damage, because obviously, these women are ending up with severe trust issues and sexual trauma that they're then going to have to heal from. And it can be healed. Of course, it can be healed. Yeah, of course it can be healed. I want to actually take this opportunity to talk about today's sponsor, the Art Erotic. So I have been partnering with the Art Erotic for actually a couple of years now. She sent me loads of beautiful stuff, and I recently asked her if I could become an affiliate. And she actually set up her affiliate scheme just on my suggestion, because I have promoted her products to so many people who have bought, particularly this one. Okay, this is the Black Obsidian Yoni Egg. Okay, if you haven't worked with Yoni eggs before, I highly recommend, especially if you have any kind of sexual trauma. This one is great because obsidian absorbs negative energy, so it will and it actually starts to throb when you've put it inside you for a few hours. There are ways to use it, during like different yogic practices to kind of tighten the vaginal walls, but I used this for cord removal. Okay, this will remove any sexual cords that you have attaching you to previous partners. So you just meditate, put it in, you can masturtate, put it in, and I just went to sleep. Okay, and I had very crazy dreams all night. I had dreams that angry men were knocking on my door all night and they couldn't get in, and they were really upset that they couldn't get in. So it's very symbolic. And there was a particular cord that I wanted removed. It was from a particular ex-partner that I felt was still hooking into my energy. And removed it the next day, and it was throbbing. It felt like I had menstrual cramps, okay, because it had absorbed so much negative energy. And yeah, the next day I had an email from said ex-boyfriend thanking me, apologizing for everything. We'd been no contact for an entire year, so the timing was very significant. He apologized for everything, for the way that he treated me. He thanked me for teaching him all the lessons and blah, 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 blessed me, blessed my family. We'd had a very not good breakup. We'd ended on not good terms. And then I received that email from him. I didn't reply, but he'd literally used the terms, I've had an energetic account open with you that I want to close. So definitely, if you want cords removed, try the Black Obsidian Yoni Egg. She also does many other types of crystals. The jade egg is great. I've also got a rose quartz. She sent me many other products that I have, some of which I've tried, some of which I've yet to try. You can use my code Ishtar15 to get 15% off at checkout, and you're welcome. So yeah, they're absolutely beautiful to work with. They really turn that, sacred, intimate time, either with yourself or with a beloved, into just a really beautiful, sacred ceremony. You'll feel like you're in an ancient temple. So yeah, do check those out. So yeah, what else do I have in my notes? Yeah, demisexual. Okay, I have this word demisexual written down. The word demisexual annoys me so much. Okay, it's just like so many other stupid things in clown world. Putting a label on just regular, normal, the word normal is obviously, there's so much degeneracy has been normalized, I can't even really use the word normal, but just regular, degular human sexuality when you're not completely sexually traumatized. Okay, the word demisexual, they're now saying that this is a particular type of sexuality. It's just basically needing an emotional connection with somebody before you become intimate. Like, could you get any more clown world than naming that a specific sexuality? Babes, that's not a specific sexuality. That's just called being healed, okay? Or not being traumatized in the first place, okay? So yeah, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that covers it. Obviously, I can talk about this for hours. We can talk about this in many different ways. I am going to revisit the subject. I hope y'all appreciated my tough love approach. I'm really not here to try and make people feel ashamed or feel I know what it's like to be sexually shamed. Okay, that relationship for which I had to remove the cord from was particularly traumatic because I felt very sexually shamed for my past, and that was the reason why the relationship ended. Okay, so I have had to heal these sexual distortions myself, and I've come out the other side. Okay, y'all have been with me for some of that journey, and you've seen how much I've healed and grown, and there's still more healing and growing that's taking place all the time. Okay, and I'm excited to share all of that with you guys, and I hope you join me for the journey. If you'd like to book a session with me, if you'd like me to remove any implants in your sacral, repair your heart womb architecture, activate your holy grail chalice template, we can talk about that in another video. The link to book sessions is in the description. I'll love you and leave you all, guys, and I'll see you in the next episode. Peace out. One love.